Welcome, everyone. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios, like almost always, except for the days we take off and handle other business. But we're here tonight. We're live and we're ready for you. We got Taking Health to Church tonight. It's Monday, October the 21st. And hope you guys had a great weekend. Sorry, Friday night we had to do an encore show on the radio, and we didn't have a show on our social media page because I went to Fort Worth and watched my son. He is a theater teacher at Pascal High School in Fort Worth, and they put on a show called Puffs. And if you guys are familiar with the Harry Potter books, then I guess they're called the Hufflepuffs. I'm not really I don't know them too good. I've only seen Harry Potter one episode, I think, of all of it. But these kids today, they like that stuff. And Jacob is an expert in Harry Potter. So they put on the Puffs and did a really good job. And so the show was great. We got to go down there and watch the kids perform, and got to see Jacob, and so that was a good trip. And then we stayed the night, and we got up early the next morning. We came back to Lubbock and got ready made it back to the tailgate and the football game, homecoming for the Red Raiders and the Baylor Bears. And the Baylor Bears put a whooping on us on Saturday. It was ugly and disgusting. And so good for the Bears. They did a good job. I'm sure that's what we needed to get us back on track for the rest of the year. But it was a beautiful day. It was beautiful at the stadium. Caitlin did a good job with all the stuff that she had to do, and then we got to go home and watch Georgia beat Texas, and so that worked out even better. It kind of brought some little bit of balance to the day. And then the TCU Horned Frogs won the late night game on Saturday night out there in Utah, and beat the Utah Utes, and so there was a little bit of happiness at my house. And then we did church yesterday morning and just kind of hung out yesterday. So, that's kind of how my weekend went. And we're here now tonight. We like a Monday nights, we take health to church. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to take health to church and going to talk about Revelation. And I think Revelation is a really interesting concept. I think it's a really interesting experience when you get Revelation. And I just started. It's funny because ever since I started thinking about this show, I've thought about multiple things, revelation of things. Man, I wish I would have been able to know that at the time. Looking back on it, it's not revelation when you just look back on it, but I wish I had some revelation at the time that I did it. And some of the things I did have revelation on, but I didn't act on them. And so it was, it gets really deep. It gets really deep when you're trying to break that down. So I think we'll try it tonight. We'll see if we can get some of that revelation going and see what's going on. And so if you got a text, if you got a question for us, you got something you want us to cover, send me a text, 806-794-0400. I'd be glad to talk to you about that, about anything you want to talk about. You can send us a message on social media if you want to do that. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Be glad to do a show about it. And so that's kind of what we got going on. The things that happened in the office today, we had a good day at the Rock. Had a new patient and did lots of adjustments. So it was a good day. One of the things that kept coming up was the flood in Roswell. I don't know if you guys saw that or if you've been keeping up with that, but what an amazing event that was. We moved there in 1981, so 43 years. I've been familiar with Roswell, and I've never seen anything like that before. If you guys, if you haven't heard about that, there was a massive flood. They got like 7 inches of rain in a very, very short period of time, and it just flooded. There's a little river, Hondo River, runs right through the middle of Roswell, and it's most of the time it's just just a trickle, just barely any water in it, and a lot of times sometimes it's dry. It's just there's not much to it there, and but man, it overflowed. One of my girls this afternoon, she said that the one of the work trucks. Her mom still lives in Roswell. She's from Roswell, and she said one of her work trucks was at the Ford place, and it ended up um, at the sale barn, which is um, like I don't know how many blocks away. That's quite a distance. That's quite a distance. It could be a mile away, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know how far it is from exactly from there to the sale barn. Maybe 3/4 of a mile, but it just washed that truck all the way to the sale barn. So there's people in Roswell that need our prayers. There's people in Roswell that need our help. If anybody out there can help those people, it's great. I can't imagine unless there's some sort of city ordinance or code or something about anybody having flood insurance in Roswell. I guess you could be in a floodplain or something if you bought something, but there, it's like not in my lifetime has there ever been any kind of flood like that. I've never even heard of it. So it was quite disastrous, and there's a bunch of people just had water just running right through the middle of their house. I mean, like 4 feet deep. Just I think the some of the markings I saw on the side of the houses, there were places where it was 4 feet deep and just washing everything away. It was quite destructive. So our prayers are with those people, and anybody that feels led to help out with that. I'm sure you can get a hold of places and GoFundMe's and all that sort of thing. I don't have any of that, but I know there's places you can find it. So that was something that happened, and it puts everything else in perspective. You know, the football game was horrible, but the football game is nothing. It's just a game, right? Compared to life and death stuff. There were some people that actually lost their lives. I think they said there's reported 7 people. That's what I heard this morning, that there were 7 people that lost their lives over there in that flood. And there's a bunch of homeless people that live underneath the bridges, and there's no telling how many of those people have been washed away. So it was quite a tragic event. So that's what went on this weekend. Conversations that we had in the office, that they just basically revolve around the same things that you and I always talk about here on the show. I listened to some docs talk at lunch. I started a new video series that I'm listening to, and it was kind of refreshing to listen to them talk about vitamin D and fish oil. That was a big one. I talked to MJ. He came back from a seminar this weekend from over in Roswell, and I was calling him, and we were talking about what was going on with the floods and everything. And then I asked him about the seminar, and he was kind of refreshing me on that, and about the one. Probably one of the top researchers in all. You know, you guys have listened to the show for a while have heard me talk about James Chestnut. He's a chiropractor out of Canada, and Dr. Chestnut is probably one of the if he's not the top research guy in chiropractic, he's at the top. He's right there with Dan Murphy that we always bring you the information from, and he just is very knowledgeable, and as an author, he's actually published papers in research and all that type of thing. And so he was an exercise physiologist in college, got his degree in that, and really actually wrote a paper about muscle strength, before he even went to chiropractic school, and how muscle strength is neurological. And we've talked about that, right? We talked about the neurological efficiency of muscle strength. That's part of the reason that we use the grip strength test when we test every new patient in the office. We use that grip strength test because it's a sign of neurology. It's a sign of the homunculus. It's a sign of efficiency. And low grip strength test is not good for outcomes. So we want to make sure that that's the case. But one of the things those guys were talking about on the video today was fast healers, fast people that respond quickly to chiropractic care and can have increased outcomes are people who are definitely taking vitamin D and fish oil. And Dr. Chestnut was adamant about the benefits of vitamin D. You know that, and I know that. I mean, all you guys that listen to this show that have listened to it for a while, you know that. You know vitamin D and fish oil are very, very important to our health. And they were talking about it all the way through COVID and all the, how all of that. And that's, of course, that's what we did in the office. The that was our state board was getting a lot of pressure. They sent out some emails and conversation about what we were supposed to do during that period of time. So I just kept it all in house. I kept it on our Facebook page, and then I kept it on the whiteboards in our office. But one of the things from right at the very beginning was make sure you're getting your vitamin D. And we've actually been doing that since 2009, that when I started the nutrition stuff, fish oil and vitamin D. It's crucial. But these guys brought up a new point that if you're a new person to chiropractic, like you've got some sort of issue that brings you to get adjusted, that the people that are have adequate amounts of fish oil and vitamin D actually heal faster. And so I thought that was cool information just to have it reiterated again. It's not like it's new information for all of us, but it does just kind of remind you. It's like, hey, look, it's a lifetime. Vitamin D is lifetime. It's not something you just take, you reach the levels, and then you never take it again. It's vitamin D is a lifetime experience, something that you're going to take for the rest of your life. You want to keep your vitamin D levels up, and you want to make sure that you're keeping them at a level that's adequate to keep yourself functioning way above sickness. It's not a minimum level. That's the medical model has it at a minimum level. Anything above 40, I think, is considered okay. Not in our world. It needs to be up there. It needs to be in the 70, 80, 90, 100 range to really be effective from a wellness standpoint. So, and then of course that omega-3 fish oil, EPA DHA range, 3 to 1 or less. That's what we're targeting. And so those are vital. And if you're going to heal, then those things are going to heal you faster. You're going to respond better, and that's through research. So Dr. Chestnut is everything that he writes is research based and evidence based. You want to talk about, you guys know that I'm pretty fussy about evidence based stuff, because I think for the majority of time it's crap, and it's just made up to make somebody feel important. Like they make it up like they got some sort of upper hand on something, and a lot of it is a joke. A lot of it, in my opinion, in my humble chiropractic opinion, I think it's a joke. If you want to talk about evidence-based stuff, then let's talk about evidence-based stuff, and let's talk about none of that stuff was evidence-based. That whole pandemic we went through was garbage, and so that there was a lot of noise going on. There was a lot of doctors that lied out their teeth during that time. I listened to them right here in my own town. I listened to them on all social media. I listened to them on all kinds of interviews and news stories and podcasts and all that sort of thing. And they talked about being evidence based, and then they lied out of their teeth. And I think a lot of us, I don't think it's just me, I think a lot of us feel that way, that we lost a lot of confidence. I didn't lose that much confidence. I didn't have that much confidence in them to start. But I think a lot of people lost confidence because of some of the things that were said. So when we talk about fish oil and vitamin D, we're talking about it from an evidence-based standpoint, of research standpoint, that, hey, that's good stuff for you. It's not just Dr. Clemmons' idea. It's not just something I made up one afternoon and bring to you. So that was enough about that. Let's get to the taking health to church. So if you're new to the show, we take health to church on Monday nights. We take the sermon from Hillside Church here in Lubbock, which is actually also based in Amarillo. They've got 11 campuses, I believe. We take the sermon from Hillside Church and we bring it to you, and we say, hey, what can we learn from health and wellness? What is it about health that we could learn from that sermon yesterday? So I try to bring that sermon into the office. I try to break it down from a health and wellness standpoint, and then I try to give it to you of the preaching from a health and wellness standpoint. And so what they've been doing is they've been going through the Ephesians, the first part of Ephesians, and like Ephesians 1, like 3 through 14 or something like that. And they've been breaking down over the last several weeks what they're calling the blessing avalanche. And they've taken it and they've looked at several different things. Let me see if I got them written down here somewhere. There was 7: predestination, creation, adaption, redemption, revelation, salvation, and possession. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's the 7 things that they've been talking about at church. And this week they talked about revelation, and it was really good. It was really eye-opening, and I thought the pastor did a really good job. And he's talking about the first 3 through 14, Ephesians 1, 3 through 14. Okay, it's the longest run-on sentence of blessings. It's just an avalanche of blessings. It's just so we don't forget. And it said, one of the things that he said is the objective is not to forget the blessings we have in Christ. That's the objective of this thing. And it was really, it's really an interesting scripture because Paul wrote it. He's in prison, and he's just talking about blessings. I mean, how many of us do that in the worst case times? Like in the worst case scenarios, in the worst part of our day, the worst part of your day today, did you think to yourself and just start talking about all the blessings you had? Now, some of you probably have, because some of you people are just awesome people. I know that. But it's not common, right? It's like sometimes on the worst part of our day, we get really fussy and we get really angry and we get really irritated and we gripe about things and we get hangry and all that stuff, right? Paul's in prison. He can't really think I can't imagine that he's thinking, man, this turned out great. Like, I'm so glad that I fell for this whole magic trick they pulled on me on that road, and and turned me from Saul to Paul, and like I'm like, whatever this Christ thing is, and like, this is great. Like, who knew that if I followed this guy, I'd end up in prison? And he can't be thinking that the future is all that bright, right? But he did somehow. He did. He, in the middle of the worst times, he shined his light the brightest. He made the biggest impact. I mean, it's 2024 in Lubbock, Texas on October 21st. And I am talking about what Paul wrote down. Now, did Paul know that? Did Paul know that he was going to write something down that some kid in Lubbock, Texas some man in Lubbock, Texas is going to be talking about 2,000 something years later? Like, could that possibly be? Like, I don't think he did necessarily. I don't know, but it just strikes me as something that we could learn from. We could learn from just the factual thing about, okay, if you're even not a Christian, you don't believe in Jesus and any of that stuff. Fine. Okay, fine. This guy wrote down a sentence or a whole book or a bunch of sentences, whatever he wrote, in prison, and 2,000 years ago, and we're still talking about it today. There's got to be some validity in it right there, right? So Ephesians 1, 8b through 9. So that's where that was pretty much what we're talking about tonight. Ephesians 1, 8, that he lavished forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace, that he lavished on us with all wisdom and understanding, and he made known to us by the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ. Let me read it again to get it right this time. That he lavished on us with all wisdom and understanding, and he made known to us the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ. So we sometimes wonder. I had a lady ask me today what I thought about some new diagnostic tool that somebody here in town has that reads the energy. It's kind of like what we do in the office with the neurofeedback, but it's not quite as advanced as the neurofeedback. Not saying that ours is all that advanced. It's just this is a simpler little tool. And she said, it's supposed to tell me everything that I need. And I was like, okay, I don't know how it does that. I don't really know what to say. What did it tell you that you needed? And then she told me 3 things that she needed. And I was like, did it tell you that you needed to exercise? Because you're not going to the gym. And she's like, well, did it tell you that, about nutritional eating? Did it tell you about the supplements that it's like, okay, what do you get out of that, right? So what I thought is what I thought was when I was reading this particular passage is that there's knowledge in knowing about where we're going with our health. There's knowledge in knowing there's actually confidence in knowing where we're going with our health if we will follow the laws and orders of the universe. And there's been some time over all this time that people have been given revelation and wisdom. They've just been given some knowledge, and you wonder how they got that knowledge. Because this is the blessing of revelation. He reveals to us our future. We think about the future a lot. If you know the end from the beginning, it takes the stress away. That's what I wrote down in my notes. One of the things I got told early about studying when I started really getting to get revelation about the Bible and studying Jesus and all this sort of thing was he knew the end from the beginning. And when you know the end from the beginning, you don't get all stressed out about it. If you watch a movie that you've already seen, if I go back and watch the Texas Tech football game from Saturday, I'm going to have a totally different physiological reaction watching it now after I already know the outcome of the game. I knew the end before I started it, right? And I think we think about our future. I think we think about our future a lot. We think about what's for supper. We think about how's this election going to turn out. I think what's going on in the world, what's happening with our family, how are our kids going to do? How is the end of our life going to be? I think there's a lot of future stuff that we think about, and it's revealed to us. Our future is revealed to us. Now, from a Bible standpoint, our future is revealed to us through Christ for our the end of the game, right? It's the spiritual end of the game. But there's some other things that are revealed to us from a health standpoint in the same manner. And some of these sentences come from the Bible. Run the race to win. Treat your body as a temple. Those sort of things. Those are important pieces of information that we get from the Bible and that we get from Christ. But there is a way to kind of see what's going on with your future. Like, it's not a mystery that my A1C is going to go up if I eat a bunch of sugar between the now and the next time I take my blood test. Right? Like, I've got some revelation. I've got some information. That's not revelation. I've got some information that says to me, hey, look, I can kind of predict my future. I had a really honest conversation with one of my guys today, and I was like, hey, how's your diet and how's your exercise? And I know the answer to the question. I just wanted to bring it up. It's like, look, what are we doing? You're 47 years old. You're married with 2 kids. What are you doing? How's this? What are we? Who's going to stop? When are you going to stop and say, man, I should probably get this under control? Like, I'm this is getting out of hand, and I can almost guarantee my future, right? I can almost take a crystal ball and say, look, statistically, if I'm overweight and out of shape and inflamed, then statistically, there's a really good chance that I'm headed for some sort of chronic disease, right? I'm not really headed for life. I'm headed for death. The Bible tells us about being headed for life and being headed for death based on whether or not we got Jesus in our heart or we believe that he's our Lord and Savior. We're headed for death if we don't, and we're headed for life if we do. Well, from a nutrition standpoint, from a chiropractic standpoint, from a exercise standpoint, there's some things that we know now that will reveal to us our future. The cervical curve is one of those things. What's happening with the cervical curve? And if we don't know what that means, then we're just walking blind through things. So we're going to take a break here, and we're going to come back in just a second, and we're going to talk about some specific revelation that people have received over the years that have changed the way that health works. So you guys stick around. We'll be right back. We're getting close to that election day, I guess, huh? Are you guys keeping up with any of that? Is it possible to not keep up with it? It's like you can't turn on the TV, you can't turn on your phone. It's like, wow, there's a lot of it going on. What is it, like 2 weeks from now? 2 weeks from tomorrow? We got 15 days left. So before we go vote or before we decide who our next president is that right? It's wearing me out. The whole process. I'm sure it's wearing you guys out too. It creates stress, right? It creates stress. It kind of goes along with the show tonight. It creates stress because we don't know the end from the beginning as far as the election goes. So we got to try to figure it out on the run, try to figure out what we're going to get and what a mess that is, right? How it's going to work out. But yeah, it's going to work out for us either way. We're still going to get up and go to work the next day. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into politics. You know, got a message. Hey, Lewis, hope everything's going good with you. Sorry, we both took one on the chin this weekend. So I know that was a big deal. And with the Longhorns losing to the Bulldogs, that was a big deal this weekend. It wasn't that horrible for us, but I know it was horrible for you. But we don't really have any place to talk any trash because our Red Raiders kind of stunk it up on Saturday too. So it was ugly in Lubbock. Hang on, let me get us back. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're taking health to church tonight. We're getting to the blessings of Revelation. So I just want to read through my notes because Ephesians 1, 8b through 9, with all the wisdom and understanding, God tells us the future. Only God has the complete picture. We get, quote, revelation as we go. That's what I wrote down. We get revelation as we go. We seek and we knock. God reveals some of the future, but not all. And he reveals it according to his pleasure in which he purposed in Christ. So if you want to get that revelation, then what you do is you follow Christ. That's the way that it works. So things get revealed at a certain time for a certain purpose. God reveals himself. Um, God reveals himself. There is a creation and his word and his son. So those are the ways that he through creation, through his word, and through his son is how he reveals himself. Well, what I got from that is that things get revealed at a certain time for a certain purpose. And once you get that revelation revealed to you, then you now become responsible for acting upon it. It becomes your responsibility once you get that revelation assigned to you. And I just started thinking about different people that got different levels of revelation. And Einstein was the first one that came on to mind because I've listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about him and about how in one of his equations he thought he had made a mistake because it said to him that the universe is either expanding or contracting based on his equation. And I don't know enough about it to really break it down. I just listened to that conversation that Neil deGrasse Tyson had. And but he said his mistake was thinking he made a mistake because he was right. They've now discovered that he was right and that there is an expansion of the universe. And the waves and the ripples through time and the energy through time and like that he discovered like out of nowhere. Like he did like it just he had the ability to know it. And one of the things that the pastor said yesterday was when he was talking about Paul in prison. He said Paul had the ability in the first 14 verses of chapter 1 in Ephesians to reach all the way back before there was light and express to us the knowing that there was a cross, that there was a plan, and then he went all the way forward in his mind's eye. That's what he said. In his mind's eye, he reached back before there was light and then forward to the coming of Jesus. And that reminded me of Einstein. That's what I have written down. Being able to see the order of the future knowledge. Being able, there was a quote one time that said, Einstein said that, I can't imagine that God played dice with the universe. Something to that effect. It's kind of a paraphrase, but it's like it's not a random chance. It's like there's an actual order to the universe. And why some people get that revelation, I don't know. And it just, after I thought about Einstein, it made me think about D.D. Palmer and chiropractic. And it made me think, because I'm telling you, D.D. was not, he was not your, he's just not the guy you would think would get this revelation. And I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic and I just looked up his biography. And Daniel David Palmer, his name we call him D.D. Palmer, he was born March 7th, 1845, and he died October 20th, 1913. So he was 50 years old in 1895. And he said, is known as the discoverer and the founder of chiropractic profession and Palmer College of Chiropractic. Daniel David Palmer performed the first chiropractic adjustment on September 18th, 1895 in Davenport, Iowa. He founded Palmer School and Cure, now Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport in 1897, and he died in 1913. So the longer version of that was he was a school teacher. I don't even know what this word means. APIARIST. Let me see that. You guys are way smarter. One who keeps bees. Oh, specifically one who cares and raises bees. Apiarist? An apiarist? Yeah, it's like he was a school teacher and a beekeeper and a magnetic healer and a chiropractor. And he was born in Audley, Ontario, Canada in 1845 and immigrated to the United States. At the end of the 19th century, when D.D. Palmer came on to the health scene, medicine was in a state of disarray. Many alternative healing practices were founded in this era. D.D. reasoned, this is the part that blows my mind right here. Like this really blows my mind. It says, D.D. reasoned the body had an ample supply of natural healing power transmitted through the nervous system. If a single organ was sick, it must not be receiving its normal nerve supply. That led to the premise of spinal misalignment or subluxation, and from there to a procedure for adjusting the vertebrae. Like, I don't understand that. Like, he reasoned the body had an ample supply of natural healing power transmitted through the nervous system. This school teacher, beekeeper, magnetic healer, like, I can't imagine a school teacher. I don't know what. I just kind of wonder if maybe he might not have been. I've never heard any stories about him. I don't know for sure if he was a fabulous school teacher, but I'm just kind of guessing that maybe he wasn't a fabulous school teacher. It didn't, it doesn't really say he was this long career school teacher, and that I don't never heard stories about his students talking about what an awesome school teacher he was. He probably kept bees because he needed some honey. He tried not to starve to death, right? Magnetic healer. Well, I don't even know what that means. I don't even really know what a magnetic healer is. He just had this. He reasoned the body had an ample supply of natural healing power. Have you ever reasoned that yourself? Anybody listening to this show, have you ever reasoned to yourself that your body has an ample supply of natural healing power? Have you ever thought to yourself, I think I have plenty of healing power? I think when you get a headache, do you ever think to yourself, I have an ample supply of healing power? Or do you think I should take a Tylenol or an Advil? Man, I wish I had an Advil. That's where we are in the world today. We're so inundated with pharmaceuticals that we don't even think about our own healing power. Very few of us. I know the OGs on this show do, but very few people out there because of the bombardment that we have been under in this country. I watched all kinds of biographies this weekend. That's something I really like to do, to study history. I did get a history degree in college, but I watched a biography on Henry Ford, and I watched a biography on candy making in Chicago. I might break that down a little bit later this week, but I watched a biography of candy making in Chicago. And in Chicago in the early 1900s became the candy capital of the world. And we talked about Hershey a couple weeks ago and all the good things he did with all the money he made from selling the poison that he sold. And then that talked about Brock's, and it talked about Margie's candies, and it talked about Mars bars, and it talked about all of these different candy companies and how they made millions and millions and millions of dollars in the early 1900s, and Chicago became the candy capital of the world. And now, 100 years later, the candy capital of the world led to the sickest group of people in the history of mankind. There's never been a sicker group of people than Americans today. We are the world champions of all mankind in chronic disease. And we're because we have lost this concept that we have an ample supply of healing power. And I think there's been revelation. To me, it doesn't make any difference where it comes from. When it's revelation, to me, it came from the source. God revealed in this whole book through Christ his kingdom, what it's going to look like. He revealed in Revelations to look at what's coming new. That was he went to Revelations 21:2, and I am making everything new, not making new things, is what I wrote down. He's making things new. Like that, it's being revealed to us what it's going to be like. But it got revealed to Dee Dee that there was this healing power that was inside of our bodies. Like that we had an ample supply of natural healing power transmitted through the nervous system. Now, that's not what Andrew Steele was saying. He was the osteopathy. Your DO, when you go see your DO, and then started with Andrew Steele back in the day, he didn't say that. He didn't say it was nervous system. He thought it was more of a fluid thing. It was more of hormones and blood and lymph system. If we could balance all those things, that's what it would be. You had acupuncturists that are around the world talking about energy. You had medical doctors in the early 1900s that were doing your pharmaceutical industry and Bayer and all that stuff in Germany. And that we talked about Blitzed, the book Blitz. That's a great one to look up. It wasn't a consensus, is what I'm trying to say. There wasn't a consensus, but Dee Dee somehow came up with this idea that there was an ample supply of natural healing power transmitted through the nervous system. And that led to the profession that I get to do every single day. That revelation. It's really, if you study it, if you independently study it, and you look at medicine, and you look at pharmaceuticals, and you look at healing in any form or fashion, and you just independently study the original revelation that was revealed, not all of the man-made craziness, but the original revelation that was revealed, you'll soon find out, like it was quite impressive. Like this whole thing with your nervous system is quite impressive. And if you want to map it out, and you want to map out the brain, because the brain is the nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord is considered the central nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system are the nerves that come off of the spinal cord or the brain stem and work their way down to your arms and feet and the rest of your body. And that's all your nervous system. That's how that is. And that is that's how your body works. Your body works through your nervous system. You don't live 1 second without your nervous system being on. If you turn your nervous system off right now, you're dead. Like boom. Like now, you're brain dead. Turn your brain off, boom, you're brain dead. That's where they pronounce you dead in a hospital. When you're flatlined, when you're brain dead. If your heart stops, they start it back up. They put you on a ventilator. They breathe for you. They keep you alive. They can keep you alive for a long time. But if you're brain dead, what they always talk about is they say, hey, look, it's time for us to turn the machines off because this person is not coming back because their nervous system is off. When your nervous system is off, you're done. You can't live 1 second without your nervous system. And there's been revelation about how that works. There's been revelation about how the nervous system works. And the deeper we get in the technology that we have, the more we learn about the brain, the more we learn about the nervous system, and the more we get revealed to us at this time. I just can't imagine in 1895 how Dee Dee came up with this stuff. Like he didn't have MRI technology. He didn't have EEG technology. There were things that were not known in 1895, but it was revelation. And it is literally the biggest blessing of my entire life. When we talk about an avalanche, a blessing avalanche, I can't tell you personally. I mean, all the people that got put together in my life for it to happen. I mean, my uncle has to buy a ranch. Shoot, I don't even like. You just go back. You just have to go back, right? You just have to. You just have to go. Somehow, mom and dad met and made it. Like I don't know how they. Like I don't know how that worked out. We, mom and I, and dad, and mom and Leslie and Caitlin and I talked about that last week. It was like he was a country boy from an oil field town in East Texas, and she was a city girl from Fort Worth with two sisters, and he had three brothers. And how in the heck they got together? But they got together, and then fast forward, then I come along, but then my uncle somehow gets married to a ranching lady in New Mexico, and then somehow buys a ranch, which gets my dad to come to Roswell to run this ranch, which brings me to Roswell to meet Leslie, whose sister is dating a guy who's in chiropractic school. It's like, which avalanche of blessing? Where can I start? Where can I start to to map out? You know how I like to map out the brain and how things work. Where can I start to map out the blessings that got me to be reading about D. D. Palmer in 1895, thinking that there is an ample natural healing power transmitted through the nervous system? Like, if that's random, that's insanity. Like, I don't believe in random at all. I believe there's order to the universe, just like Einstein believed that there's order to the universe. Like, I think that the reason that you're hearing me talk tonight about the nervous system and the healing power of the body is because of all of those blessings, all that avalanche of blessings that got revealed at the time it needed to be revealed to move us along the way, and all the blessings that I had my whole entire life, all of the experiences that I had that showed me chiropractic, all the experiences I had that showed me that, I mean, I coached, I spent 19 years on offense, and I spent 3 years on defense, and then all of a sudden my football life was over, and I kept trying to figure out why. 3 years on defense. And what did I learn from that? If we can just get lined up right, we got a chance to be successful. How can that be random? Like, how can that be some sort of mistake? How can it be like luck? You can't be that lucky. You can't be that lucky to get John Goodner at Texas Tech at the same time that I come back. He didn't even like me. But I got to spend 3 years with him, and now he's like, his voice is in my head. If we can just get lined up right, we got a chance to be successful. Why do we have a chance to be successful? Because we have an ample supply of healing power that runs through our nervous system. Like, it got revealed to Dee Dee in 1895-ish, somewhere along the way. And did he get it right the first time? No, he got it completely wrong. He adjusted a guy in his building that was deaf. It was a janitor named Harvey Lillard. He adjusted him, and after 3 adjustments, he got his hearing back, and Dee Dee thought he had cured hearing. That's why it says right there that's what that means. It says, when he says he founded the Palmer School and Cure, yeah, he thought he cured deafness. He was completely wrong in the revelation that he got. He had to go back to the drawing board because all of a sudden all these deaf people started coming to Davenport to try to get their hearing back, and then they'd get adjusted and their hearing wouldn't come back. And so he was like, what did I do? He had to work through the revelation. It was a massive revelation, and he had to work through it. But I don't think there's any other way that could have been the case. I don't think he was that brilliant, and he dang near ruined the whole thing. Like he opened his school and crashed and burned it. He was about to ruin all of chiropractic. And then his son, BJ, came along, and he's the one that actually saved it and brought it to where we are today. But to me, it's just like, it is an amazing, amazing blessing. It's a blessing of, you have a power inside your body. You have an innate intelligence. like the principles of chiropractic. This is the chiropractic textbook right here. It's written by R.W. Stevenson in 1948. This is the 1948 edition of it. And it's got in here, it's got the chiropractic principles. And it goes through, and the very first one, you've heard me say before, the very first chiropractic principle, number one, the major premise, a universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to it all its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. That is innate intelligence. That universal intelligence is that innate intelligence. And these guys have been saying the same thing since 1948. There's no change in the physician's desk reference from that number one principle in chiropractic since 1895. Since D.D. Palmer got that revelation in 1895 that you have a healing power within your body. And if you put your body in the proper environment, the healing power of your body will run your body. It's how it works. That's if you want to know what your future is, then go to the fundamental principles of health. Go check those things and ask yourself. And if you don't know what those fundamental principles of health are, that's why I'm doing this show. That's what I'm trying to share with you. And I know you guys are getting it. You guys are getting it in levels that the rest of the planet is not getting it. Like you're getting an unbelievable level of knowledge about your health. Put yourself, and I challenge you. I beg you to challenge the idea. I beg you to challenge the idea that you have an innate intelligence inside your body that knows what to do. Because you'll find out it will hold up. It will hold up with every set of challenge that this book holds up to. I've never been able in my almost 54 years this Saturday, I've never been able to find a challenge in this book that doesn't hold up. And people fuss about this book, this Bible. They fuss about this Bible, and all of they say it's not real and whatever, it's made up, and that's just a bunch of whatever, dude. Like, just tell me which part of it's wrong. Well, so far in health and wellness, this is 1895. It's the same exact story. This book this chiropractic textbook written in 1948, it's the same exact story, and it's got one of my favorite paragraphs in it of all time, because it's talking about. I'll just read it for you right here. It's on page 7. It says, "The earnest student will notice that most phenomena of life and nature pass through cyclic course. The cycles repeating itself countless times. The number of times these cycles repeat is infinite. The stars and planets travel in cycles. The processes of life and death are in cycles. The number of cycles in the body extends into infinity." And this is my favorite part right here. He says, "Therefore, if we get a grasp of it at all, we select the story that we want told, thus going from the general to the specific, and confine ourselves to the explanation of that one thing." What is the story that we tell about ourselves every day? What is that story? Are we confining ourselves? You know how hard that is in today's world to confine ourselves to the explanation of that one thing? Do you know how many distractions we have in today's world? You do. You guys know it. You know, that is so hard to do. If we get a grasp of it at all, we select the story that we want told. I want the story of health to be told through me. I want to select that story. And when I select that story, what I have learned through my study of that is that sugar and soda and candy has no place in that story for me. For me, it has no place in that story any longer. It did for a long period of time, and then it didn't. Exercise has a place in that story. Sleep has a place in that story. Social life has a place in that story. And if you want a better story told about you, you can take that revelation that we've got, those blessings of revelation, because they're blessings. They're complete blessings that we got shown to us that, you know what, we can almost see our future when it comes to health. We can look at it and we can work it out. And if we lie to ourselves, what we'll end up with is disease. We're going to die. All of us are going to die. But how are we going to live? And that's kind of one of those Braveheart moments right there, right? How are we going to live? And what do we want to tell the story about ourselves? When it gets revealed to us, we have an option to see what we want to do with it. Hey, that's all the time I got tonight. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was fun. I hope it was inspiring. I hope you guys got something out of it. If there's anything I could do for you, please send me a message. And otherwise, you guys have a great night. I'm going to go eat some supper, watch some Monday Night Football.